Thank you very much for the invitation, for spending this morning here, this formation morning. And thank you also to Yuma Center for letting us to use this nice space. The topic of this class is taking care of relationships in celibacy life. So we're going to speak how in celibacy, in all the forms of celibacy that exist in the church, it is very important to take care of how we deal with different people, how that can be a help to live our vocation. Perhaps I should begin by apologizing for my poor English, which is still far from perfect, but I have only spent 5 weeks here in the United States, so I hope that in the following months it will improve a little bit. So our starting point might be an experience that I have, a kind of mystical experience, no, a normal experience, just reading the Old Testament a couple of years ago during Mass. I had to read the first reading. It was the creation of Eve, and as you remember, God says, it is not good for man to be alone. God has created Adam. Adam has named all the animals. He has realized that there is something lacking for him, that he has so many creatures, but something is inside him telling, I need something more. So God realizes, even if Adam is not able to put a name of this needing, and so Adam gets asleep, and then Eve is created, and Adam says, yes, that is what I needed. She's the flesh of my flesh, and then they begin a nice relationship that will last not for much time, because then will be the original sin. But then, as I was reading this beautiful story, and when I read that God said, it is not for man to be alone, I said, what about myself? I'm a priest, leading priest, so I have to live in celibacy. Sometimes I also feel alone, and the solution, the answer for that solitude of Adam that God gave was creating Eve, so creating marriage, and for me, that I am not ever going to be married. So is it a good thing for me to be alone? Obviously not, and I resolved the crisis very quickly, but at the moment it shocked me. The answer that we are going to offer is that there are a lot more of relationships that will help me not to feel alone. Not only me, but also so many men and women who live in celibacy. We have also the example of Robinson Crusoe, the famous novel by Daniel Defoe, that for having a normal life, for not becoming crazy, the salvation that he finds is that man that he finds that Friday, even in the famous move, now perhaps a little old, what Robinson Crusoe finds is a football that he treats like a human being. Even he puts a face and he names it Wilson. So we all need somebody to speak to. We all need someone that helps us to flourish, to develop all our capacities, and to feel that original solitude that we have. Obviously, the expression original solitude recalls us the theology of the body by John Paul II. Okay, but the question is that we all need to love someone, to have someone at which we can put our affection, and also to feel loved. Not only to be loved, because I had to change this slide after a few presentations, because originally, as I wrote, we need all to love and to be loved. It seemed that would be the right balance. Instead, it is not, because for me, the necessity is not to be the fact of being loved. the fact of knowing that someone loves me. What I really need is to have the experience, to have the emotional experience of feeling loved. Otherwise, I will be frustrated. And it is the same for a married man or woman, and for a celibate man or woman, or for a couple of fiancés, high schoolers, or whatever. We all need someone to put our heart on, and someone that loves us. So that necessity of loving, of relationship, can come from three ways. I think that it more or less includes all the aspects of the ambience of our life: family, work, and friends. And they have differences between them. What is family? And now we are speaking about celibate people. We can understand all these ambience in two ways, and we can do it in parallel so as not to repeat myself. We're going to repeat family, work, and friend. Family would be my natural family, obviously, the biological family, but also the family inside the institution in which I belong. Work will be the professional work that I do, but also the apostolic task that I develop. And friends, I will spend some more time to speak about friendship. So what is family? Family is a place marked by irreversible bonds. My father is my father and will be for the rest of my life, and also my mother. Even if there have been difficulties in the relationship, even if, as unfortunately happen nowadays very frequently, that the father, the mother went away, didn't take care, was negligent, was abusive, and so. But there is a bond that explains me who I am. Because when I have to explain who I am not only show a picture of myself. This is me, a priest with this age, with this, no, it is also my background. And if I do not accept my background, my history, and even a prehistory that all of us have, there will be a lack in the narrative of my being, of my life. So many people that have suffered because of different difficulties in their family tend to repress, to reject their parents. And then they hardly live a normal life from a psychological point of view, but also from a spiritual point of view. I have met several mainly young people that have told me, I cannot pray the Our Father. Because for me, when I say the word Father, for me it is not something that loves me. For me, a father is something that abuses, is something that didn't take care of me. So if I don't put in a shadow the word Father as I am praying the Our Father, I will suffer a kind of shock. And if God is what is the idea of Father that I have, I prefer to be an atheist. Those are the exact words that a high schooler told me a few years ago. So we all need to accept the figure of our fathers, the father, mother. We have to reconcile with them, which does not mean to call them and to have a long conversation with them. Sometimes it will be impossible because they are not alive, because they are lost, because they don't want. But at least I have to do a work in myself so as to accept the figure of my father, of my mother, to understand him or her. There are, well, it could be practically a topic for another talk, but knowing that I have in myself something that is from him will accept me, even if I don't like it, will accept me to know that I have an heritage that I can improve. It is not something that falls on me and it is conditioning my way of relationship. Yes, it is perhaps, but it's something that I can change. If I see my parents also with understanding their difficulties, how were my grandparents, what were the difficulties that my parents had, and so on, it will be easier for me to say, okay, I understand them. In some way, I have pity of them because I see how difficult it was for them to grow me, and then it will be easier for me to be more merciful to them, and then from a psychological and a spiritual point of view, I will be able to have a more normal life. Then family is not chosen. They are people who come and I accept them. The only bond that is chosen is when a man knows a woman and they decide to get married. After that, all the people fall inside the relationship and they can choose the number of children, but they cannot choose if they will be a boy or a girl, or he will be or she will be black-haired or blondie or anything. People who come, and as long as the family grows, also some other people come, the family-in-law, and then they have to be accepted from unconditionally because they become part of my family, so they become a part of me, because I am not only myself. A famous Spanish philosopher said, I am me and my circumstances. So I am not like a monad by Leibniz. I am a lot of relationships that are part of me. And if I reject those things, then in some way I can become incomplete. They will always be there. We can say, I wish they were. Yes, but contrary to the third kind of relationship that we will speak, which are friendship or even work, when I stop working in a place, I know that a lot of people won't have any more contact with me. When a friendship is cancelled because I move to another place and then it tends to disappear, nothing can last. Instead, with my parents, with my brothers, I will all the time have that bond, that link, that will do such that I can come with them because something is stable. There is usually a close existence that is challenging because it is very attractive, because I have a place to go back, the home, like the place, somebody has defined that as the place that I want to go back. It is perhaps somewhat idealistic, but it is what a family should be. There is a variable affinity. I have 3 brothers, and with some of them I have more, I share more things, we have more trust. With others, I have not so much trust, but all of them are my brothers. And the same happens with my sisters-in-law and with all the extended family. And we are called to love all of them, as San Jose Maria used to say, in marriage couple, but we can also extend that to the family and also to the brothers and also to the people who share our vocation and are our supernatural family. We have also to love them with their defects, and we have also to love their defects. And here I find something that in institutions that have life in common happens sometimes. When there is difficulty in the life between them, someone says, so I should change my house because it is impossible for me to live with these other people. Sometimes, being a little cynic, I said, okay, do you receive a spiritual direction from married people? Yes, I do. That's part of my vocation. Okay, so when this man, when this woman tells you, it is impossible for me to live with my husband, with my life, just tell him or her the same you are telling me. Look for another house, look for another partner, and change your life radically. No, I cannot say that. Okay, so think if perhaps what you are telling the other people to do is something that you can first of all apply to yourself. You have to understand the other one. You have to let the other one be himself or herself. You have to be patient, to live charity, and in such a way, not only the relationship will get more calmed, but also you will grow from a human and from a supernatural point of view. From a supernatural point of view, because you are going to put in that relationship a lot of virtues, mainly charity, but also because you will learn a lot of what now are called the social skills. You will be able to deal with a lot of people, and it is important in celibacy life, because as mainly people who live in an active celibacy or apostolic celibacy, that the deep reason for the celibacy is for serving other people. So you need the capacity of dealing with a lot of people. You cannot say, no, these people who come for means of formation to me, I cannot receive his or her spiritual direction because he's so rude, he speaks too much, he's little nasty, no, you have to have your heart open to all kinds of people. And this is something that has much to see with celibacy, with sharing the heart of Jesus Christ, open to every kind of people. At the point that when you come to betray him, he calls him friend. Friend, why did you come? Okay, so the first ambient is family. The second one is job. And here we can also see it in two different ways. My professional job, independently that it is outside, when I used to work as a doctor, but also when my job is related to my vocation. And so we find an overlap. We will deepen about that afterwards. But also the apostolic work is a kind of job. I mean, when you are here in Yuma and you are dealing with activities, although you are not usually paid for that, it is a kind of job that is also overlapped with your vocation. So what is the goal of the job? To get a common goal. It is not to be very well together. It is to work in synergy so as to get those goals. So what is needed is cooperation, which means that I am not going to put all my talents in work, because some of them I have to keep them for me so as to all the other people can develop their own talents. And even if I would like to be in this position, like in the football match, it is better for the whole team that I play in another place and another one takes this position. So that's cooperation. The relationships are not chosen, like in the family. We learn the respect for diversity. I know that especially here in the United States, this word is challenging, but I insist to put it because the professor of creation in my university in Santa Croce, sometimes he gets angry when he says, they have stolen us the rainbow, because it is a sign of creation. It is not anything dirty or bad or anything. It is a thing that is a sign of the covenant with God. So the same with diversity is just working with people that have a different personality and attention, because once I heard by Don Julio Dieguez, probably known by all of you, how many apostolic works collapse because of the conflict between the egos, because the people are not able to sacrifice some of their talents so that the common goal is reached. I heard a few years ago, when I was a young university student, from the priest of my center, He was a very wise priest. And there was some conflict between the director and me, who was the assistant director. And he called me and he said, look, a center, a house, apostolic work, business has the virtues and the defects of its leader, of the director. So you have two chances, two possibilities. You can be beside him, telling him how many things he's doing wrong, or you can be beside him, helping him to be more ordered, to have a wider view and so. And if he does not do it for him. That is helping, that is supporting a director. In the first option, instead, you will be arguing all the time, and there will arrive a time in which someone will say, we have to separate them. They are very nice people, but they cannot work together. And it is a natural place for friendships to develop. Even many people know their fiancé or they get married thanks to their job. Okay, and then we arrive to friendship. And from now on, practically we are going to speak only about friendship. Friendship is born when we find there is something to share. Obviously, we have something to share with everybody in the world, but we cannot be friends of 7 billion people. So we need something more apart from sharing. It is something that is found and accepted. It is like getting in love. People who have relationships, who speak, and at a certain moment they realize, hey, we are friends. We have made friends. So it is something that is discovered, that you cannot force, but you can ease. How? Is devoting time to that person with which you want to be friend. That could be a quantitative mean, but the other one is the qualitative one. The more you share with him or with her, the more friends you can be. But also it is qualitative because the deepest thing you share with him or her, the best friend you can be. I usually bike on the weekends when I am in Rome, and I have met a lot of people in the roads, and with some of them we have made friends. And then in the last years, mainly with 2 people, I have gone with them a weekend after the other, and in the road, during the ride, we speak a lot of things, so we are friends. But with one of them, we only meet on Sunday morning. With the other one, we have taken many beers together. We have had lunch together. He resulted to be a good Christian, and he wanted to deepen his formation, so he began going to a center and to receive spiritual direction, and then he became a cooperator, and the story is still open. Obviously, I am friend. I consider myself friend of all of them, but with one, the friendship is much deeper than with the other. It grows with mutual contact, and it is atrophied if the friendship is not developed. So, the better is it possible to have an asymmetrical friendship? Yes, but that is not the most perfect one, at least from a human point of view. I can be a friend of a 15 years old boy to whom I have met, that comes to the center and so, or to a 80 years old man that, okay, but probably I will have much to share with a person who is in my age, but not only because of the topics, but because the operative system is different in a 15 years old guy and an 18 years old person. So if most of my friends, or even my best friends, were 15 years old, I would have probably a problem in my operational system, which could mean I could be an immature. So we have to be attentive. also because life runs and we don't realize it. And if I spend a lot of time because of my job, because of my apostolic work and so with young people, naturally I will become friend of them. But attention, because it is risky. I can become an immature. So I have to do some kind of effort even to keep contact with the people of my age, which will be probably the parents of those boys. Obviously, it is easier to deal with an adolescent, a little naive, more affectionate. It is easy for him to get attached to us than with his parents that are more mature, more serious, and so. But if we don't do that effort, we will become immature. And finally, this was said by my psychologist, I mean the psychologist that worked with me in the hospital. She said, let parents play the role of parents. She was against the expression, parents must be friends or their best friends of their children. She used to say, no, they have to be parents. Because in all kind of education, also in Christian education, you have two components. One is affection that is inconditionnate, and the other is exigency. I don't ask my friends to be exigent with me. I want to spend time with them, I want that they accept me, but a formator, a professor, a teacher, a mentor have also the task of being exigent. Can it hurt the friendship? No, it converts friendship in an asymmetrical one, and we have to accept that. If we wanted to give and receive, at times that is a problem, and receive affection at the cost of reducing the exigency, we will be betraying our role as formators. Then we arrive to friendship in celibacy. The third text or the third file I have uploaded is this one, the value of friendship in celibacy life. Here you have the link in which you can find it. It is the most beautiful text I have read about celibacy and friendship. As you see in the title of the book, it has been written for seminarians, for young people who are in the way of priesthood. But you can read it absolutely as addressed to yourself, and I think you will like also that. He speaks about a lot of delicate topics, like particular friendship, like friendship with people of the other sex, and so. So I recommend very much to read it. And at a certain point, he says that for a celibate person, sexual abstinence can sometimes be hard, but the real sacrifice is that of intimacy, where I can open myself to the other without losing my identity, being myself and sharing what I have in my heart. Reciprocal opening of the heart matures us in a critical way, at the same way that being isolated is a form of immaturity. For the celibate person, friendship is the most suitable way to live this out. So the more friends you have, and the more widen is the people in the origin of that friendship, the more mature you can become, and the more you can have satisfied that need of loving and being loved and feeling loved. But then friendship means sharing intimacy. If I don't share intimacy, I will difficult be a friend of anyone if we only speak about issues that are external to me or to my intimacy or to my intimacy. It means deeper knowledge. Obviously, I know him much deeper than to another person that does not share with me. It means greater affection. It means a preferential relationship. I want to spend more time with my friends than with the people who are not my friends. Okay, here C.S. Lewis in the Four Loves says that friendship begins like that, getting in love, when I realize that that person likes the things that I like. Obviously not all the things, but a thing that is very important for me is also very important for him. And so we can speak, or even we needn't speak, because we know what the other shares. There are some specific challenges of friendship in apostolic celibacy, because people who live in apostolic celibacy are a kind of professional of spiritual accompaniment. And this means that we have a risk, a difficulty to make real friendships, because we can be very good advisors, very good problem solvers, but bad listeners. And when I am receiving spiritual direction, I thinking, how can I help this person? What advice can I give to the person so that he improves from a human, spiritual point of view? With a friend, that's not the point. With a friend, when he's trusting me his problem, the first thing I have to do is listen. And then perhaps I can give him an advice, or perhaps it is better not to do so. But then we find another difficulty. For becoming friend, friendship must be reciprocal. So I have also to share with him my intimacy. Otherwise, there is no friendship. And that's why some people who live in apostolic celibacy do not a real experience of friendship, because they put the same kind of relationship when they are taking a beer or a coffee or a tea with a friend than when they are receiving spiritual direction. When I am receiving spiritual direction, it is very strange to say, yes, this happens to me, and then I begin speaking for 10 minutes. It could be a mistake. With a friend, I can do it. And when a person in spiritual direction tells me that he has a difficulty in his life when he's with his wife, and so it could be a disorder if I said, yes, I have the same problem in my family life, in my center, and so. But with a friend, if he's really a friend and I trust him, I can also speak about those difficulties. Otherwise, we won't be real friends. So we have sometimes to reduce the level of pudor in French. I think that in English you don't have an exact term that reflects that, no? So as to open also my soul to him in the same way as he's trusting me and telling me his problems. Another specific problem or challenge in friendship in celibacy life is the role overlap, because we have spoken about 3 ambience, and many times there is some kind of overlap. One person who is my sister is also the chief of my boss, or at least is the leader of the apostolic work that we do in the evenings, and she's also my spiritual accompaniment, and so she's a kind of mother with me. So we are family, friend, and then we like one another, and then we are also friends. So it is a kind of conflict that require some, not very artificial, but putting limits clear, at least in specific moments. As example, in spiritual accompaniment. Spiritual accompaniment is played only in actu, during the conversation. So it would be a mistake that in family life I correct a person with of which spiritual direction I am hearing. I have to, it doesn't mean that I have to wait for a whole week to speak about, but I have to, because otherwise what suffers is also always the weaker part. And the weakest part is friendship. So it suffers. And the more close, the more identified, the more overlapped are the cycles, the more challenging it is, and needs some kind of cure for the part of both, for the part of the person who is superior or director or whatever, and the other who is the subordinate. In fact, this expression, my wife is my boss, usually is recognized as negative. And many times we live with people who is my mother, sister, boss, and so on. So it is a kind of problematic situation, potentially, not in the reality. It is not a pathological. So what can we do if we live in that situation? One thing that we can do is looking also a way out of that. Because if all my relationships are inside that overlapping cycles, it could be exhausting, or it can be exhausting. It probably will be exhausting. Sometimes I have recommended people who, for the vocation, job, and so, live tendenциally most of the time in those situations, to look for a way out. That can be go to a language institute, go to a school of abilities that can help you to your job, but not to the school that is led by the same institution, so that you will find the same people that speak to you with the same way and quoting the same people, the same saints, and so you become fed up. Go to another institution, go to other people, and then you will find other people, and perhaps you will also make friends of them, and you will arrive to your house probably much relaxed. And probably you will also valorize more the people with which you live. Because if you are living with people that give their lives to God, probably you don't realize that because you are living very close to them. But they are very nice people. They are people who want to be saints. And other people perhaps have other interests. So it will help you in both senses. And finally, this is the last challenging topic I would like to speak to. What about friendship between people who are brothers and sisters in vocation? We have been told to live friendship also inside our family. So how can I understand that? In my opinion, I can only understand that accepting that I have to share intimacy, have a deeper knowledge with someone or with the other, to have greater affection with some people with the other, and to have a preferential relationship. Why? Cannot it be equal to everybody? In the theory, yes. In the practice, no. Because of my limits, because of my defects, and because of the defects of the other people, and because of some other questions that are not related with defects, are only situations. If I am an artist and I love poetry and I love abstraction, and I live with an engineer who likes very much concrete things and numbers and so, and despises in some way losing time going to the National Gallery because we're wasting time, watch it in the screen of your computer, and well, it will be a little difficult to become friend of her. It will also become, as we have said, difficult to become real friends of people with has a great difference of age respect to me. So, can we say that if it is ideal to become friend of everybody with which I live, it will happen in the reality the same as I have told about my family? I will be real friends of some people, and I will be hardly friend of some other people. In my opinion, that's it. But when I have spoken about that, mainly a few years ago, I have received a lot of objections. An example, intimacy needs are met in spiritual direction. Spiritual direction is an asymmetrical relationship in which I can speak about a lot about my things, but I don't receive that kind of feedback. I receive feedback with affection and with exigency, but not in a relaxed way, and not in an institutional way. which is what we live in friendship. I can call a friend and speak to him to any moment, also to speak to a director, but obviously it is not exactly the same. Someone told me, yes, but you are automatically friend of all your brothers or sisters, because friendship is a continuum. You can be more friend with some people and less friend with other people, and I accept that. But with some people, even if I am looking them, I am meeting them every day, I can say that we are not friends. We are only colleagues. We are people that spend time together. We don't argue. We are not enemies, but we are not friends. So there must be, if we are speaking about friendship within the same vocation, we have to be consistent. That's the idea I want to transmit. And we cannot say what another objection. Friendship is an analogical concept. When we have been told to be friends, what means that advice is keep living friendship. So automatically, fraternity becomes friendship. I will say, I finish this slide and I will say what is the problem about that. And finally, I heard once that if you are not friend of everyone with which you live, you have a problem. I rebelled with that because I cannot feel that affection, and I mustn't feel guilty if I have not affection. I can feel it as a challenge to improve my relationship with that person, but I cannot feel guilty because of my feelings. It is very big. It does you to it victimizes you. So what? Okay, and then one told me, I completely disagree with you because you are encouraging particular friendship. So we mentioned here the great enemy, the serpent, and we will speak also about that. So what is the problem in these objections? Obviously, partly, and well understand, they are right. But the problem is that they automatically transform fratelli tutti in amici tutti. You are all friends, so you are all friends. You are all brothers or sisters, so you are all friends. And it does not take into consideration that friendship is something dynamic. I arrived to the United States 1 month ago, and when I arrived to the center in which I am living, I knew that I was not friend of any of them. It is obvious. And when I will go to my workshop in summer, I will know that I am not a friend of any of them. But I can become a friend of some of them as much as possible. Probably I won't be able to become a friend of all of them. But if I pass from fratelli tutti to amici tutti, then I arrive and say, I am friend of all of you, and I save myself to all the process and the effort to become a friend of some of them. That requires something to share, find it, ease that, seek the mutual time together, and so. What about particular friendships? Is it a problem? Is it something to cancel? Was it an error that we have lived for a lot of years, but now there is? No, it is not. But it is interesting to know the history. It is a concept that comes from St. Ignatius of Loyola. And as the Jesuits have had a great influence in Christian formation in the last 5-6 centuries, it has entered in all of the institutions. But not only, Saint Teresa of Jesus also spoke very strongly against particular friendship. She said that in particular friendships, the devil makes many entanglements. And it can be, it is, she says, a difficulty to find God. So it is a reality, but it has it must be well understood. Because if I say to the people who live together, you can be free friend in a strict sense of everybody, but with the people with which you are living. So what kind of family life, what kind of relaxed family, if I say you have a limit with the people that is supposed that you love them more. You love them more to these people, but you cannot become friend of them. It's a contradiction. So let's try and deepen in these last minutes about what is and is not particular friendship. What is not particular friendship? Let us take an example of this young postulant Jesuit who is called Jorge Mario Bergoglio. He said that when he was a postulant in Argentina, it was very hard for them, for Argentina, not to be able to play sport, not to be able to play soccer. So during the matches, he was in a side of the field reading philosophy and things that he was interested in, and then at any time he looked at the match. But at any point, another postulant who couldn't also play sport came with him, with his book. Obviously, after a few hours or days, they began speaking one or another. And it resulted that they shared a lot of intellectual interest, and then they closed their books, and for the following days, they directly began speaking, till the master of the postulants arrived and said, applying the rigid concept of particular friendship. What are you doing here together speaking all the day, during all the break? Only you two. Go, you have to separate yourselves. And then any of them went to one side of the football field. And then Pope Francis, when he told that in an interview, said, before knowing him, I didn't feel alone. And I didn't suffer because of not being able to play soccer. After that separation, I felt very alone. It hurted me because it was a nice friendship. It was a friendship that was helping me to live better my vocation, to live better my physical limits, and to grow from a personal, affective, and intellectual point of view. So, what are particular friendships? I would say that the thermometer that we can use to recognize them in ourselves and also in the people that we have to help is when they are closed. And I put an example. When you're free in a Sunday morning and you speak to the person you like more in the center, why don't we go for a walk or for a cultural visit or anything, and then we will speak about so many things that we like and that we share. It will be our moment of enjoying. And then a third one, the boring one, tells you, hey, I don't have anything to do this Sunday. I thought I would have to stay alone in the center. Can I go with you? My plan has broken down. If your friendship is a spiritual friendship, you will be generous and say, I sacrifice my goodness, my welfare, so that this person is not alone. So I will be very happy, and I will thank God if I have time to share my intimacy with my friend, but I know that there are things more important than friendship. And that thing is called fraternity. It is also a problem when that friendship, the thing that is shared, the common interest is criticizing the superiors. Obviously, that friendship is not helping to live the vocation, unity, and so on. So there is something dirty in the relationship. When it leads to omissions, we are very friends, we have time to be together, so don't ask me to change my schedule because there is a need, because mainly if that need is apostolic, if I have to help to another person, to accompany her to the doctor, I want to go to the workshop with the people I love more, because that will be the only way of enjoying my workshop. Even if I have to go into another one because the necessities of the work in my center, because of the matters that I have to study are in a different workshop and so. So if my friendship leads me to omissions, it means that my hierarchy is not clear enough. We are going deeper to more dangerous situations when the friendship does not respect alterity. When I want that my friend is like I want her to be. So I don't accept that she has other interests or that she has other friendships. It is very typical in adolescents, but in adolescents it is normal, because in their evolutive phase it is normal, they are very absorbent. But if she is 30 years old, 40 years old, it is a great problem. Well, it is normal that adolescents feel hard because also you have gone to that party with that person and not with me. Yes, because I have other friends, other interests, and if you love me, you will respect me and all my interests, even those who do not, that I don't share with you, because otherwise you will make me more poor. And our friendship is something that have to make me flourish, as we are seeing now in the outside and with the trees. If these things are not lived well, it is easy that friendship becomes eroticized. It is the last consequence, even if there is not a real self-sex attraction, because it is, they are sharing so many things together that with other conditions they can do a step that is looking one another also in a bodily way. Okay, so we have spoken a lot about friendship. What about those people that I like less and that I realize that we are not friends? Well, I said, first of all, live fraternity, don't worry. So we received the letter from the father saying there will be people that you like not so much, keep living fraternity with them, and don't worry. Anyway, you can also work so that being only colleagues of vocation, colleagues of work, can deepen, and perhaps friendship can be born. So work on yourselves by sharing intimacy about the things that are more important for you. Your family life, your natural family, your job, your interests, and so. At what point and how much, depending on the person, depending on you, depending on and if you have any doubt, you can ask for advice, as in many other things. You can also live fraternity participating in the things that you don't like so much. And nowadays it is very easy. There is a film program in TV that perhaps some of you are going to watch this Friday evening. I don't like it, so I go to my room and I put the one that I like more. Can it be done? Yes, but it doesn't help to live fraternity. Instead, what helps is enjoying with the others, sharing my hobbies and the things that I like, so that the other people can also appreciate, live that, know me, and perhaps I will find that they have similar interests as me. And then that eureka will happen. And perhaps thanks to that sharing, my preferences will help to become friends of that people. Then it needs that opening from the other people be accepted from us. Otherwise, if I open my heart and nobody takes it, I will say, next time I won't open my heart, obviously. So we can promote non-institutional relationships. Our family life is very structured and it is good, it is necessary, But many people said that during COVID, they got to know people much better than during normal years, because they weren't get-togethers. Everyone had to have lunch or dinner by themselves. So in small groups, it was easy to speak about non-institutional, not so standardized things. Then be attentive to the arrival at home. Obviously, we all have a lot of work to do, and usually work better in our room or study room with the door closed. But it is important to foster fraternity that when some people arrives home, he or she finds some door open. Otherwise, it is a little sad to arrive home and say, arrive, and then 1 minute or before or later the time for dinner, everyone open their rooms and arrive very smiling. But is it a family? Probably yes, but it might improve. So show interest in the personal interest of the other people and asking about what they have told. Well, you told me, you spoke in the meeting, the get-together a week ago, that your father was ill. How is he? It changes absolutely. It means that she has, I will recommend you, I will ask for that, I will pray for that, okay. But she has been really praying for that. And now she still has it in her mind. So I know who I can trust my worries, because she will be attentive to them. Special attention to the outsiders. In some centers, they are really addressed to one kind of activity. As example, a school. But you can also have some outsiders, and to speak a lot about that apostolic work, but then the person who does not work professionally in that can feel a little outside, and she has to be integrated also. So know what are the goals, the professional goals of those outsiders. Which are the next promotions that they're going to have. Valorize and enjoy and celebrate when some person gets a goal in her professional life, because it is very important for that person, and it is very sad when one arrives and say, I have been promoted, I've been published a paper, my idea has been accepted. Very well, we keep speaking about the same. Correction, I am not going to speak about that anymore. I must say that in my center, women are a little more detached because of those things. So I discovered a way of making people happy when I receive a good news. And now it is generalized in my center. When one people receive a good news, he is invited to get together other snack, a spirit, and some chocolates. And then all the people get very happy because you have your paper, book, or promotion has been accepted. And though, okay, it is perhaps a little materialistic, but it works. And it helps that people feel free to share those things, very important to them, with the other people. If it is a reality, and we keep it, at least in my experience, it helps a lot the people. I call the Vietnam veterans the people who left the institution. And I have had very nice experiences of those people who went out perhaps with some bone, some hurt because they didn't feel understood, they didn't feel loved, and so. And a few months later, I wrote them for their birthday, for Christmas, for some anniversary, and we retake the contact. And some of them told me, I have understood that you were really a friend of mine. We weren't only, in Spanish we say, correligionarios. We share the vocation, we share the religion. I realized that you were friends, and it was something that helped them to come back to the family and to heal the bonds that perhaps they had. the fact of sharing a vocation gives you a ground that is common and that is very intimate. The fact of having the same goal in your life, that is going to heaven, and have a common spirituality, is a base in which a nice friendship can grow. But it has not still grown, or it is not automatic. So it is normal that you have, it is like those equal friendship that we have spoken about. It will be usually easier for us to become friends of a person with which you share the vocation. I think that we have to be realist. My brother, before getting married, had a lot of friends. Now he cannot devote to them as much time as he would like, because he cannot say to his wife and to his 2 children, bye-bye, I'm going to have a party with my friends, so this afternoon, evening, night, and so on, I won't see you. Things does not work that does. So we have also to do a kind of hierarchy, what is the most important thing, and to offer the Lord that there are a lot of good things in our lives, in a lot of topics that we are not being able to live, or we are going to live less than we would like. So we can also offer that to the Lord, and we as celibate people have also the possibility of using that time that we have devoted to the Lord, and we have offered not to have a natural family, a biological family, to devote that time to our friends, and that is part of our vocation, to spend time with our friends so as to get them nearer to God. And so in some way it is also not the only point that we consider when we have to choose with whom am I going to devote time, but it is also something that counts. If I devote time to this friend, it will be easier for him to come next to God. Instead, with the other one, we're a little blocked. It does not mean that I don't deserve any time with the other one, but perhaps there is one point that waits when I have to choose. Yes, when we live together, we can see the best part of the other people and also the bad part of the other people. Now I'm giving this talk and wearing my coat and my shoes. When I arrive home, I will go to my room, I will take out the coat, and probably I will put some more comfortable shoes, because I am in my room, in my ambient. In my house, when I am out of my room, it is better than when I am closer to my room, but I also behave in a more natural way, which means that I can be not so aware of my defects. Does it mean that I am acting in my job when I am outside? No, it means that I behave in a different way. And it is a good thing that we behave a little bad in our house, because it means that I feel in trust, that I can take out this thing that is not a part of me. So it has that effect that we can see from the others are also a way of, okay, that's the naturalness that has to be lived in the house. And obviously it is completed, it is balanced with the will that all of us have to be with people, to be educated, and to be holy. So it can also help you to say, well, perhaps I can help this person to improve by example, fraternal correction, and so on. And then with a patient that probably she doesn't like to be in that way, but I have to accept her. Thank you very much.